Hi friends, today I'm 9,000 feet above sea level here in the Rocky Mountains, Summit County, Colorado. Don't expect to really find a whole lot of mushrooms. It's early in the year and it is very dry, even drier than normal. And the subalpine environment up here above 9,000 feet is basically a semi-arid desert anyway. So we might find some polypores or some other interesting things, but I don't have my hopes up too high. There could be some burn morels. It might even be just a bit too early. The soil might have not warmed up quite enough for morels yet, but who knows? We can't know without looking, so let's go check it out. So you might be wondering what these piles of logs are. Well, there was a beetle-killed, the pine-boring beetle, devastated huge swaths of the Rocky Mountains, killing all the trees, leaving them vulnerable to producing large forest fires. And now we're in a state of recovery, and crews have been out cutting up the dead trees and piling them up in kind of teepee formations like this. The slash piles, as they're called, will shed water, help the wood dry out, and then the Forest Service will come out in the fall or the winter when there's enough snow and burn the piles, helping to reduce the risk and the fuel load for future forest fires. The lodgepole pines and ponderosa pines are growing back, but you can see all the little holes in all these stumps everywhere. Don't see any mushrooms on any of these dead logs though. If this was in a temperate area of the United States, there would definitely be some polypores, some crust fungus, or some other mushrooms on these stumps and logs, but not really seeing anything of the kind here. Pines are relatively rot resistant. They contain terpenes, and the stumps and roots can be full of sap and not readily decompose. I mean, if I were to take one of these logs back with me to Indiana and set it on the forest floor, it wouldn't last a decade probably, but these can last more than 100 years. That's why those old ghost towns built out of pine logs are still around from the 1800s. Pretty cool. So yeah, let's move on to a different area, see what else is out there. Previously on this trip, I was in the more montane elevation and environment. Didn't have a whole lot of time to poke around and look for mushrooms. Found a few things, but definitely recommend visiting Colorado Springs, going to Garden of the Gods and Red Rock Canyon Park, and the Seven Falls with more than 200 steps up these Seven Falls. That was really cool. And also, if you're near Denver, definitely check out Casa Bonita if you like Mexican food and indoor cliff diving. You have to book your reservations far in advance. So here's what's left of an old wooden water pipe, sluice pipe for gold or silver mining, probably. Lots of mining in this area. And it is good evidence that wood will eventually rot here if given more than 100 years. Although it was a sluice pipe full of water, so it had a head start with all that moisture. But yeah, it just goes on forever. Awesome. Oh wow, look at that. Surprise, surprise, I actually found a fungus. Looks like we have a little dried up polypore, probably from last year. Hard to tell what that is. If I had to guess, I would say it is the Trichaptum albiatum, the cousin of the violet tooth polypore we find on deciduous wood. This one only grows on conifers. But yeah, okay, we're on the board. We found a fungus. All right, cool. There's really only just a handful of trees that can survive at this altitude. It's mostly just lodgepole pine and quaking aspen up here. But you can also find the Colorado blue spruce, the subalpine fir, and the Rocky Mountain juniper. And there are a few more. You could also find the narrow-leaf cottonwood down in the river valleys. That's about it. Maybe now would be a good time to go over how to identify all the different types of conifer trees. So let's do that. All right, pine trees. All these conifer trees are gymnosperms, a more ancient form of life than the flowering trees, the angiosperms. Pine trees are members of the genus Pinus, and they are known for their soft, flexible, long needles in packages of 2, 3, or 5 little bundles of needles, and the Pine cones are hard and woody and they hang downward. Next, let's look at fir trees. These are members of the genus Abies. They have flat needles that grow directly from the twig. They have like little suction cup like scars when you pull off the needles. They will be flat and very soft and friendly to the touch. And the cones sit upright on top of the branches like candles, and they will break apart while still on the tree. Next, we have spruce trees in the genus Picea. These are known for their four-sided needles that grow individually off of the stem, and they grow on raised wooden pegs, and you can kind of roll them around in your finger as they are four-sided and sharp and stiff to the touch. The cones of the spruce trees hang downward with thin, flexible, papery scales. Next, we have juniper trees. There are no native cedar trees in North America, but a lot of them are misnamed as cedars. They are all actually junipers. Junipers are known for having two types of leaves on the same tree. Young branches have sharp, prickly, needle-like leaves, while mature branches have flat, cascading, overlapping scales. Distinctively, these trees do not produce cones, but rather produce blue or purple berries, which smell and have the scent of gin, if you're familiar with that alcoholic spirit. Next, we have hemlock trees in the genus Tsuga. These trees have needles similar to a spruce or a fir, but they will be flatly arranged on two sides of the twig, giving the twigs the appearance of a feather or a fern frond. You can also flip the needles over, and the underside will feature two bright, distinct white parallel stripes, and the needles are short, flat, soft to the touch, and they have a tiny, distinct leaf stem that attaches to the twig. Hemlock trees will produce delicate, thin, egg-shaped cones that are barely the size of a dime, the smallest of all the conifer trees. Now let's move on to the larch. The larch tree is unique among conifers as it is actually deciduous. It drops its needles at the end of the growing season. That's what deciduous means, but it is a gymnosperm. It is a conifer. It reproduces using cones. The needles grow in tufted clusters out of short, woody knobs along the branch. The needles are incredibly soft and light lime green. The needles turn bright gold in autumn and drop off completely, and it is a beautiful sight if you've ever seen a larch tree in the fall. The cones of the larch tree are small and egg-shaped, and they are known for having a two-stage color palette. When immature, they can be a bright red, pink, or purplish crimson color, and as they mature, they will become more woody and turn more of a brown to tan color. All right, next tree. And finally, we have cypress trees. These are trees in the family Cupressaceae, and they do not have typical needles. Instead, they have tiny, flat, overlapping scales that feel like braided leather or kind of like tiny fans. And their cones are small, hard, woody, and perfectly round, like miniature little soccer balls. All right, that's it for the conifers. Let's move on. Uh-oh. There are witches in our midst. Gotta watch out in Colorado, especially. Had a lot of witch huts. Who knows what nefarious incantations occur here in the wee hours of the night. I'm not gonna stick around to find out. So no significant mushroom finds there, but I did ask around about any areas that might be fire damaged close by, and they said I might be able to find some at this other trail. So let's go check that out. So yeah, I looked around here. No funguses to be found. No morels. You really want a fresh burn scar. You want to visit spring or summer following a forest fire of low to moderate severity. You don't want to go to a place that was completely burnt to a crisp and the soil was sterilized. But so this looked like it was at one time a good area to look for morels, but I think it's a little too late for here. But it was worth a try. Yeah, and wouldn't you know it? After saying I wouldn't find any morels, right where I'm staying, right in the mulch, is a big black morel. Oh man, that goes deep. So yeah, landscaping black morel, delicious edible morel mushroom, vertical arrangements of pitch. and a black cap or darkish colored cap. I'm not going to eat this from the mulch around my vacation condo complex. It's pretty hard. I bet it's been there for quite a while. But yeah, it was hiding out there among the pine cones. Hard to pick these out sometimes with their dark color, and especially if there's pine cones around. So yeah, happy to find that. And that's all I got for you today. All right, this looks like a good spot. This is the shadiest part of my garden that has hardwood chips, so we'll try to pour it here. It just rained, so that's gonna help, I hope. And for good measure, I'm gonna add some extra water. And I'm gonna come back out here and water these wood chips in the next 2 weeks if they get dry. Try to give those morel spores the best possible chance of growing into a mycelium and eventually, hopefully, fruiting. All right, well, I'm pretty confident that's gonna work. Just have to wait 2 to 5 years now, so I'll check back with you when I get my first landscaping morel mushrooms. All right, I'm Michael File. I'll see you next time on Mushroom Journeys.